I'm making sure that we get live everywhere else. Let me check the Facebook. Happening now. Let me click it.
All right. Can you hear me good? We straight?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you just fine.
All right, bet. And I can hear you now. The settings just switched for some reason again, but I think we good to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Facebook is starting up now. Check YouTube. Make sure I'm hitting that. Facebook is always the one that gives me problems, so that's why I always check first.
Okay.
Like since Facebook changed how they stream, it's just been one thing after another.
Cause that in the space of like cause I know when we stream there for my open mics, like it was a period, I guess, when they had first made the switch,
Yep.
that was like no longer allowed to stream to something, whether it be certain pages or like you weren't allowed to stream to into groups or something like that.
Yeah.
I
So
was
so it's,
running into.
that's exactly what it was. It's
Yeah.
they changed how you stream in the groups, but it also changed how you stream on even your personal pages.
Oh
All right.
wow,
So it looks like we're live everywhere, which is great.
cool beans.
So that's what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. What's up, guys? Isaiah Gibson here again. With Light with Marketing, Passive Income Pub. And I've got a great guest on the line today. My good friend Jarrell Pittman from way back in the day. I'm talking about back in high school, way back. It's just great to see guys in the community that are doing big things for us. They're just making a positive impact. And Jarrell's going to talk through some of his three pillars. How he's using music, how he's educating, and also how he's just living the entrepreneur life. So he's living multiple lifestyles in one. And like me, he's also a dad. So without further ado, welcome Jarrell, man. Thanks for being here.
What's up, bro? What's going on, man? Good to see you. Like you said, you didn't put that way back on there, bro. Not even realizing how long it's been since high school, them oxen days, man. But I'm excited to be here, and I know, like I said before we got on, like this I think this conversation is going to be impactful. I definitely don't want it to be just like a spotlight and a highlight reel, because I think we got much more to offer. You know what I'm saying, to the listeners and to the viewers, than just telling my personal story. I feel like there's some bigger issues that we're gonna touch on. So I'm excited, man.
I'm excited too, bro. I'm excited too. So today, as most folks should know, is MLK Jr. Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And Martin Luther was one of the most pivotal people for the black community.
Mm-hmm.
He helped us kind of end segregation in schools, as well as do a bunch of other things that not just made us more valuable to society, but more made us kind of more of the pillar to what we could be. So it's just great that I've got my man Jarrell here, because I feel as though you're doing that yourself. Through all your different avenues. So just walk us through a little bit about how you got started. What made you decide this is the life that you want to live?
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, proud Clipper alum. When graduating from Oxford Hill, like I was being ushered into, like the rest of us, because that was the age of technology, the age of science and mathematics and all the things. We grew up in a generation that if you were showing any signs of competency or intelligence, that was your lane. You need to hop into STEM, and that's it. So of course, I started my college career majoring in chemical engineering at the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University. Shout out all my Aggies, Aggie Pride. Um, but I had like an epiphany, like not long before going. Like I said, I was accepted and all that and enrolled as a chemical engineer, and I kind of had an epiphany, like, is this what I want to wake up every morning to do?
Yep.
I had been interested, and I'll leave that in that small adjective, but I've been interested in like the arts all my life, but never really I had my small moments, but I never really fully got to pursue that as a passion. And so I went to A&T. I became a communications major, and it kind of just opened my eyes to like creative technologies, you know what I mean, and
Yep.
how our media industry, and this is right on the cusp of when social media was becoming a thing, and a lot more creative entrepreneurship was coming into play. So I went through my college years, kind of getting a ground level foundational understanding of what that looks like through all avenues of media and how they're so intertwined but so different in how you can approach. And then upon graduating, I started doing music for public consumption. I would say, like I said, I've been writing music and doing music since I was a kid, but that was the first time that I actually put a project together to put out. It was called Rebirth of Real. Did some performances and stuff like that. So that's when I kind of built my first pillar, which was as an MC. Like I'm a hip hop head, like, and I mean like the essence of the culture of hip hop, like understanding that even within hip hop, they are the pillars and all of them work together, and one of them being knowledge itself. So
Absolutely.
a part of growing up at A&T and becoming a man at A&T is really learning who I was, not just who I am as Jarrell, who I am as a black man, who I am as a black man in America, all those things. And I started to embed that into my art, and that was the takeoff point of the MC space from the educator space, because whether friends know or not, I'm in elementary education. I've been doing so for about 10 years at this point, from a classroom teacher. Now I'm kind of in the auxiliary space where I'm really getting to move in
Yep.
my passion and in my purpose within the education sector. But I've been working with kids since I was a kid, so it kind of just came about where I got the opportunity. One of the leaders at a school that I used to run summer camp at came to me one time. I was working retail management. It was like, hey, you want a job in the school? And I'm like, sure, why not? You know what I'm saying? And the rest was kind of history. So that's where the educator space. And then from there, I started really understanding kind of what I wanted to do with my education, with my major, and creating programming around. I believe that it's voices. You know what I mean? I believe that as a communications major, it's bigger than just news. It's bigger than just being a social media person or whatever like that. It's all about voices and how we can revolutionize how those voices get heard. And then as a person that's in the school system, I recognize how undervalued and underserved the voices that I work with are.
Facts.
The black children. They don't get a lot of opportunity to see themselves in positive lights. They have everybody else creating the narratives for them. And so I was trying to figure out how to merge all of those things together to really give space to student voices, to black student voices, to underserved, underprivileged student voices. And it's been a great journey ever since, man. So in a nutshell, man, that's kind of like point A to point Z. And I mean, I won't even say point Z because I think I still got a long way to go in terms of what I want to do, but that's how we hit today. That's what I
we
say.
we haven't hit our stride yet, bro.
Feel me?
That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. It's just good to see that we as black men giving back as educators. I think that's fantastic because there's not enough representation. Of us in many spaces. I'm talking about a lot of the fields as far as doctors, lawyers, educators. So it's just good to see you taking on that role to become a role model for these kids, and even especially because when we were young, all we knew about were like artists, like rappers,
Mhm.
ball players, but now we're being exposed to more of those different fields. Now we're being exposed to more different mindsets. So you being an entrepreneur too, that's also going to help these young minds kind of say, I could start a business. I could start a business helping people or being something, being somebody.
Absolutely.
So I guess my next question for you is, how do you tie all three of these things in your day-to-day business?
Man, so for example, with my MC as an MC, I started, just kind of making music for me and in my immediate circle, of people. I didn't really ever have high levels of aspiration in terms of becoming an artist, because I early on recognized how much of a facade that they send to our young black men about how that's their way to success. So I did it more for the passion than anything else. But because of that, I was able to, do some open mics. I did a couple of showcases and competitions where, I've won some of them. It actually allowed me the opportunity to go and perform nationally as well. So that was super dope. But one in particular, specifically during the pandemic, I joined this open mic. It was a virtual open mic. Went on the first time, and for lack of better words, I did my thing. I crushed it. And the CEO, executive director of the nonprofit that was putting on the open mic, asked me to come back to be a feature on their next month's performances. Came back and did that again. And I that was like the first step of me kind of using all of my various passions, all of my various skill sets in like one swoop.
Right.
Because first I started doing, they sent me a flyer that was kind of like, So I started, I made a couple of my own flyers, letting my people know that I'm gonna be featuring on there. I did a couple of little short videos and stuff. So that was like the first piece. And then it was a virtual performance. So being that it was virtual, I had the opportunity to, play with the cameras, play with the lights and stuff like that to kind of set up a, lack of a better word, like a early version of what a tiny desk is now.
Yeah.
In my space to perform for that particular show. And yeah, so after that show, me and the executive director kind of had to sit down. She's like, I'm really interested in working with you more. Like, I see that you're more than just a rapper, you're more than just an artist. Like, you got a lot of things going. So from there, that kind of really started to build my brand, the Griosphere. For those of y'all who don't know, that's my brand, the Griosphere production. Because as we know, a griot is a storyteller, and I think that kind of encompasses what I try to do. I try to tell stories. I try to help other people to share their stories. So that was like the first step in me being able to do that. And what was really interesting was growing with this company, I continued to hit all three of my pillars. I continued to be an artist, so I've been their feature for quite some time. Every time I perform, they seem to make it like I'm a feature, even though aside from that, I was doing their social media for quite some time and still dabbling that as well. They do a live stream of their performances every month, and I run the live stream. My wife actually, she's in music as well. She's a vocal musician, as well as vocal producer, audio engineer, all that stuff. So we get to work side by side, running the show from the production standpoint. And now I sit on the board of that particular nonprofit. So it's been a journey, and that's just, like I said, that was just chipping away at my overall vision. Because for me personally, I'm a big picture person. A lot of us creatives, we see the whole big picture. We don't necessarily know the finite detailed steps at how we're going to get to that big picture. But I think that was like my first step starting to work with the company Rhythm Visions Productions. That was kind of like one of the first steps in like chiseling away at that bigger picture and starting to kind of figure out what the steps are. So and now even in my school building, like I'm making videos, I'm hosting events, I'm planning. We actually started a podcast at my elementary school that I'm excited to see how that grows and how that blossoms. And like you said, man, just being representation of like being educated isn't lame. You know what I'm saying? Being a serviceman isn't lame. Being a husband and father isn't lame. Just building that representation and doing so using my overall story. So and I think even for this conversation here today, I think that's the bigger purpose for me. Like, it's not necessarily about me, but it's about people being able to see me and see my journey, and hear my testimony and be able to understand like the way that they have told us that it has to happen. It doesn't have to happen. You can create your own lane. You can create your own synergy in whatever space you walk into. You don't have to conform to what it is that is expected. You don't have to conform to what it is that's already there. You can kind of build your own space. and it's been a great ride. Like even the space that I'm in right now, the actual position at my school, this is the first year that they've ever had this position, because they've never had somebody sit in the position that has the the diverse talents and the
Yeah.
diverse experience that I have. And it's made for a great experience for me. I'm loving what I'm doing right now. It's making a great experience for the children, which is what I'm there for. So it's a journey, but it's great, man. It's great.
Yeah, I love to hear that, bro. I really do. So talk about some of the roadblocks that you probably hit early off, or maybe some things you're going through now, just that you kind of still fighting through. I know me personally, one of the things is trying to balance that whole 9 to 5, as
Mhm.
well as kind of do my own thing, but trying to find ways to blend that, as well as blend raising kids and that kind of thing. So just talk about some of the challenges and roadblocks you've hit in your entrepreneur journey.
Mm. That's real good, man. I think the first one that I say was probably, I won't even say it was the biggest to overcome, but it was the hardest to swallow, because um when I started doing music, there once again, there's a mold, there's a a predisposition about what a hip hop artist is supposed to be.
Yep.
And so while really pushing to try to get my own voice out there, to get my own image and brand out there, it's like you don't want to break that mold too much, because you don't feel like it'll be accepted if you're breaking outside of what is expected. But what was funny was, once I started working in my first elementary school. Now, mind you, this was, like I said, this was an elementary school, and it was a Christian private school.
Yep.
So it's like, and I work with kindergartners primarily. Like I did first grade as well, but when I started, I was in a kindergarten classroom. So it's like, yo, how can you be how can you be a hip hop artist, and you got the rah-rah and the bravado of a hip hop artist, but you a kindergarten teacher? How can those things coexist? And it was like
Right.
the biggest roadblock I had to find, or I had to overcome, was just the idea of becoming becoming the person, and therefore creating the brand that, regardless of where I show up, whatever space I'm in, I can still be who I am. Now, granted, there's a slight deviation, of course, that's expected, but overall, the I'm in a fellowship, a leadership fellowship for Black male educators, called Atari, which just means leader in Swahili. But in my fellowship, we talk about avatars. Everybody has built avatars to best represent themselves in the spaces that they're in. And it was like, how can I have avatars that are completely in contradiction of one another? So I'm on a song, and I'm rapping, talking about partying, turning up, and I'm talking about, whatever the case may be. Well, in my early years, I was just, throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it stick. I definitely had some things in the beginning that were in the true essence of who I wanted to be as an artist, but I also was throwing stuff out there that I thought people would want to hear. So, I got stuff that's in complete contradiction. And it's like, yo, how you gonna play this song or let somebody hear this song? What if you got a performance, and somebody one of your kids' parents show up and hear you talking about this particular subject or whatever. And so getting to the point where it's like, I need to create this avatar that is going to be able to show up in all these spaces and not be a contradiction and not be inauthentic, but be able to, like I said, be present in all those spaces, and I don't feel like I have to morph into something else. So I think
Absolutely.
that was the biggest thing for me. Like, because at my school, I'm Mr. J. So it's like, if you see Mr. J, you might have to come across his YouTube, or they come across this interview. Like, what is going to be the conversation after that? Are you going to look at me differently? Is it going to impact my impact on what I'm doing in the school system? Is it going to impact my brand in terms of how I get to coordinate with companies or coordinate with nonprofits and all the things that I want to do?
Yep.
Is my artist avatar going to ruin any of that? And if it is, then that means I need to make some adjustments. And I think once I really came to the terms of understanding and being confident and sound in the idea that I can be exactly who I am, I don't have to put on for other people, I think that's where things started really catching the vibe and moving forward. And then, like you said, man, now really trying to balance my artistry trying to balance the business aspect of it. Like I said, I sit on a board for a nonprofit, so trying to work with them and make sure I'm giving to them in the way that's necessary, because I got put on the board for a reason, because of the insight and because of the experience that I have. So being able to give to that while still building and holding my family down and not feeling like they're getting neglected because I'm
Absolutely.
doing all the other things, because that was one of the biggest things that I've heard. I went on this journey of like really listening to a lot of fathers that are not to say at all perfect, but a lot of them are, in the space of I'm really trying to do this right.
Yep.
I came from a generation. I was in a single parent household, so I had a vendetta against not being a present in my kids' lives on a day-to-day basis. So doing all the things to help build and provide for them in their future, but not sacrificing the moments of now to build the tomorrow. So I think those are the
Absolutely.
two biggest blocks that I had.
And I'm glad you talk about the avatars because in marketing, we always think of our our client avatar, who we want to best pitch our product to, but then you also have to think about your own personal avatar. How does whatever your product and your pitch align with who you are as a person and where you want to be? So you have to make sure that these things somehow are able to kind of align together. You know, so that I think that's awesome that you are able to blend those and also kind of be true to who you are now. As you're saying, when you start off in your career as an MC, you're making music and you're just like trying different things. And that that's part of the journey we all go through, not just as entrepreneurs, but as people, starting off at the very beginning, we're going to try new things, we're going to see, what fits us best. But I think that what you do, what you did and what you're doing is you're molding yourself into that next level, that next level and something just more positive in your community.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, you joined a little late, uh, but you saying what is Jarrell doing now? What's his business? So Jarrell, in a quick overview, because you talked about this in the beginning, just kind of help sum up,
Yeah,
what you got going on and how that aligns, with those vibes we just talked about.
yeah. So I would say by trade, I'm an MC. I say that specifically because I built my hip hop sound around the true essence of what hip hop as the culture means. So I'm a lyricist, and I love barring it up. I love storytelling. I love giving some positivity, some things to really help the brain wheels move for others in terms of what I do for my art. Um, by day job, I'm an educator. I work in elementary education in Northeast DC. My current role, I started in the classroom, but my current role is more of an auxiliary type of vibe. I'm like quasi administrator. It's called a PBIS coordinator, where I'm kind of in charge of like putting together a lot of initiatives around SEL and behavior and things of that nature. So that is what I do for as a day job, and then as an entrepreneur, I own a production company called the Grillsphere Productions, and within that company houses whether I'm doing. I've done workforce development. I've done classes in DYRS, which is the Youth Rehab Services in DC. I've done school-based initiatives. I've done virtual. I do live streaming, so all the media production stuff, all the things. So my company is kind of like the umbrella, and within the umbrella, I got a lot of different pillars that I get to function in. So widespread, but very very intentional and very poignant in terms of what I like to get into.
I think that the biggest thing to point at is just how versatile you could be with the creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where you say, okay, I've always wanted to be an artist. Music is my avenue, but I always wanted to be an educator. Kids take to music better than they take to most other kinds of lessons. And that I've learned that when we were younger too. It's like that I learned how to kind of excel in the classroom by finding patterns and making certain lessons in the songs.
Yeah,
That's just kind of what we do. That's why we sing the alphabet.
absolutely.
Because psychologically you're more able to retain something if it has a melody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, And
Absolutely.
so I think it's awesome, that you're able to incorporate both your past experiences, your current, and use that to shape your future. And it definitely helps because
Huh.
you know we in the black community, we have to be the father figures, the role models that we didn't have, and it
To everybody, to
exactly
everybody, and I think the coolest part about that, or the most eye-opening part about that, because specifically when I joined the education sector, like I was in there because, like you said, we're I think the stats now, like we're of the 7% of black men in education, and that's across the country. Like we are only about 7% of the population in black men in schools, and then of that, it's about less than 2% that are like actually in leadership. So even though we may be in the space, we're not being able to have the autonomy to really do what we know is necessary for our children. And the studies showed that it's not just black children that are positively affected by having a black male educator. Like everybody is positively affected by that. So the idea, like, we're not just in school for the black boys. We're not just to wrangle in the bad boys that don't have dads at home. Like
right.
young ladies that are in there that have warped perceptions of what black manhood looks like, how they should be treated by a black man. Like the if you are working with students of other other diverse backgrounds that do have fathers in their home that don't understand uh uh quite understand what it is to be a black man, and not a black man by the media's definition, where either you are a nerd and a lame that actually works a day job that doesn't get any personal accolade from the community because you're not doing what the community expected you to do. Also, it can be, you can look like me and still be a positive person. Like you don't have to be a gangbanger just because you like wearing hoodies. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not. But so we're breaking a lot of those molds when we're in the classroom, because these are where minds are being developed. Like they're going to take these experiences, and even when they go into different spaces and people are saying, "Hey, black men are this, black men are that," it's like, no, that's not true. Because Mr. J,
Right.
like I knew Mr. J for a long time, and he was definitely not like that. So you can't tell me something that I've experienced for myself to be true.
All right, so we got another question. Adam's asking, "What's your 2025 plan for your business?" And I'm going to focus this to be more so about your production company.
Absolutely.
Because as you stated, that's on the come up. I've seen some of the work you've done myself. With your fatherhood series.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk about what are your plans for that this year and moving forward.
Yeah, man. Well, definitely, I'm very much so interested in kind of dabbling more into the live production space, hosting and producing events that take my particular expertise. Prior to my second stint in the classroom, I took some time as an audio visual technician. So we were, running conferences and things for various, Fortune 500 companies, government entities, things of that nature, in
Absolutely.
DC. So I want to kind of put that knowledge base into play, and start putting together like some real super dope conferences and things of that nature, that could kind of touch people in different ways. So whether it be, I got some ideas around some marriage retreats. I got some ideas around some black education retreats, and it's just, and specifically in the production space, still taking all three of those pillars, that MC, educator, entrepreneur, and figuring out which way those things can merge and intertwine to kind of build the brand, but also just continue with the purpose. Like if y'all saw the picture on the front, and I got the same hoodie on right now in a different color. It's passion plus purpose equals prosperity. And so even in terms of my business, if I continue to lean into what I'm passionate about, which is having people tell and share their stories, and helping other people to learn from other stories and their own story. That's the passion. The purpose, is what I feel like is the work, is the walk that you have to go through to get to that point. But if you continue to merge those things, it's going to prosper. So I think that's going to be the biggest base. It's so hard for me to go, let me just focus on this part right now. It's like, even in completing or executing in one aspect, I'm still looking at like, wow, yeah, I did put this conference together, but let me sit in the production booth just to make sure that all of the graphics are coming up as they're supposed to. Oh, well, yeah, I am in the production booth, but like, hey y'all, give me a slight little 10-minute set that I can go do a couple of songs from my last album. It's gonna always intertwine, and it's supposed to move in such a fluid fashion that you can't separate one piece from the next. It's like these are the things that I'm showing up as in every space, in every sector. So
I get that. I get that. Now, as far as your live events and your live retreats, is that more so on the corporate end? Is that more on the like the consumer end, like, or business to business? What's your particular model or idea for that?
well, to first and foremost, to start, it was more in a consumer space. I would say a couple that I've done thus far. I was working with an organization that I've partnered with on quite a couple of things called Propel Production Center. That's a nonprofit that deals in mental health and wellness through the arts. So we put together like wellness retreats. We put together like wellness, quote unquote, wellness block parties where I kind of ran production and did the sound stage for it. So I think that is the space, like still connecting and touching the people. But definitely have some plans of working with other small businesses, because one of our initiatives was called Propel Bosses, which was like pulling together emerging diverse business owners, whether it be from small businesses, nonprofits, serial entrepreneurs to sole proprietors, like all different types of once again underserved and undervalued uh entrepreneurs, and kind of putting them in a space where they can yet again share their stories, share their experiences, and help the next collaborate and do all the things. So kind of like some like black owner think tanks of sorts. So that's another aspect. I believe, now this is just me, and this is just me being my radical self. I believe that I will probably just be embedding myself in some corporate entities in terms of like sharing my wisdom, sharing my knowledge, and hopefully getting paid quite handsomely for. Do I think that I am going to be creating things that is geared towards corporate entities? Not so much, only because like I still I still got this man of the people energy that I'm having now. Granted, I may grow out of it that one day and see a bigger picture than what I'm saying now, but like I feel like my purpose work is still for the people. So all the things that I'm gonna be doing is geared towards the people. Now, if you are whoever you are, you big Fortune 500 company and you want to send some representatives to come, like at our health and wellness retreat, people don't recognize that financial wellness is a part of your wellness will. So we
Absolutely.
did have some young some young people from M&T Bank that came and gave a little spiel about how to best serve yourself financially in terms of the entrepreneurial space, and then offer their resources and stuff like that. We've had University of Maryland come and give some of their insight and resources and how to further your education in the entrepreneurial space. So I'm definitely willing and open to work with the corporate sector, but like I said, I'm a man of the people, so they're gonna get my first and they're gonna get my most all the time.
So if you could turn back the clock and if you could have a conversation with your 13-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Mm. Don't be afraid to go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your light. I feel like, and unfortunately for a lot of our children, that is a thing, because once again, like I reiterate, we came up in a time where there was a mold that you needed to fit into in order to feel like you fit in, which is a weird way to say that, but like you had to be a certain way in order for you to feel like that was the expected way, that was the thing that was going to be popular, that was the thing that was going to be widely accepted. And it's
Right.
like when you early on recognize that you don't fit that mold, you spend a large majority of your time trying to shave away at pieces of yourself to fit the mold that they're trying to put you in. And I think the first thing I would tell my younger self is like, bro, you don't have to do that. Like the greatest people in history were the ones that recognized early that I don't fit that mold, and I'm not going to. And I'm not going to attempt to fit that mold. I'm going to do everything in my power to break that mold completely out of proportion and show people that there's a different way. In honor of it being MLK Day, if we think about him like he was an early high school graduate, he was an early college graduate, people fail to realize because they think it was so far back in history that this man was like a grown man doing all this stuff. He was no older than some like college kids in essence when he was leading these movements all across the country and being renowned by so many and feared by so many. You know, people leave that out of his legacy. When he died, everybody's like, "Oh, Martin Luther King, I have a dream," blah blah blah. But then the time he was a radical in the eyes of the American public. He was on the America's Most Wanted list, like, you know. And I don't want to get, you know, too deep into history and all that, but you know, COINTELPRO was one of the prime suspects in making sure that they're bringing down the quote unquote black messiahs of that time. So it's like he did not form into what was expected of him as a black man, as a black pastor, because a lot of the things that he was trying to do, the rest of the Southern Leadership Christian Council, I think that's what that was called, SLCC, they were against some of the things that he was trying to do because it was shaking stuff up.
Yep.
So I would tell my young self, like, yo, you have no reason to feel like you need to fit into anything that's happening.
Be fearless.
Meet the bones, but be you as authentically as possible. I even got a song on my album, like it's called "Do You," because everybody has been given exactly what they needed to fulfill the purpose that they're here for. But we spend so much time trying to do everybody else's job when God said, yo, like, I gave you a job. Take the tools that I gave you and move forth and do what it is I have you to do. And yeah, you're gonna run into some things, you're gonna run into some obstacles and pitfalls, but if you're walking in purpose, it's never gonna stop you. You're never gonna end, you know, where you began. So I think that's the conversation he would get. And hopefully he'll be wise enough to listen if I was able to give him that, because I probably would be in a much different space than I am now. Still on the same path, but I think I'd be much further down the line already.
And the last question I have for you is, what advice would you give a young African American who doesn't, man or woman, who doesn't know what career path they want to take, but decides, hey, I want to start my own business? Like what advice would you give them?
Two key things I feel like is important in that. One being the money. If you're where you're supposed to be, the money's gonna come. I think we're such a capitalist society, and that's been embedded and inbred into us, that's all people focus on. What is it that's going to make me the most money the fastest? And It's like, yeah, fast money, just like in the streets, fast money don't last. So if you hopping on a wave just to make some money off of it, you know, that's cool, and you may hit it big. You may come up with a space where, boom, I'm now up a couple 100,000 or whatever. That's amazing. That's great. But that isn't going to lead you to the overall feeling like you're fulfilled by whatever it is that you're doing. So the first thing I say, the money's going to come if you in purpose. The second thing, as I said, would say to myself, do you and be you. Figure out what it is that you're interested in. Figure out what it is that makes your blood boil. When you wake up in the morning thinking about, you know, what it is that you want to do, what is the thing that you want to do if you didn't have to get paid? What is the thing that you would be able to do or you would want to do if money wasn't an object? Like if you had the infinite amount of money where you didn't have to think about that no more, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to do? And that's the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And then lastly, how is your talent, how is your passions able to help people? Because both from a space of like servitude and purpose, that is going to come into play. But also from a capitalist mindset, if you're able to solve problems, you are much more likely to get paid. Like, so masking the things of what the world is telling you to do, finding what it is that is passion, a passion point for yourself, and then figuring out how that passion can help people. If you like really solidify those two things, that's your business. And if you continue to do that with consistency and effort and putting your best foot forward, it's almost certain that you're going to succeed. So that's and it sounds like a very simple thing to do, but I always say a lot of things are simple, but they're not easy.
Yep.
Which is the
Absolutely.
difference. Like people, it's the formula is there. It's do you got the resilience? Do you got the perseverance to actually work this formula until it works? Because if you continue to work, it's gonna work. But most people don't got that. They don't have the vision and the foresight to go. Maybe today I'm not gonna make my 100,000, but hey, if I make 10,000 every year, by year 10, that's 100,000. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
So it's an uphill battle, but if you're willing to fight, if you're willing to push and work hard, it's gonna come to fruition, man.
All right, I got one more question for you from the audience.
Yeah.
It says, "What's your thought about fast changing world in business, as far as AI, YouTube influencers, et cetera, et cetera? You know how TikTok is here and there. You know,
Yeah.
so what are your thoughts about how fast things are moving in business and trends?"
I think just as everything else in the world, there's a heavy dichotomy between the good of all of these things and the bad of all these things, and these are all merely tools that can be used. Whether it be used for good or evil is your personal preference. Because for example, AI makes people much more productive. Absolutely. Like if I don't have to sit down and write a proposal out word by word, if I can just prompt the AI to give me it with the essence of what I want to be said, and then they shoot me out the 5-page proposal that needs to be sent into that corporate entity, and I could just go and pluck through it and change up the finite details to make it what I want it to be, and it doesn't have to take me 17 hours to do so, then I think that's a great tool to have as an entrepreneur. However, people have the notion that this is also ruining creativity. This is ruining people's ability to communicate in a written form. You know what I'm saying? So I can agree with both of those in terms of like, the influencers from TikTok to all of the various spaces where people are building up brands just talking about things. That's a great thing. You got small town people that are making big time money, having big time opportunities simply because they was able to sit in front of a camera and tell you, how they like the chicken sandwich that they got from a particular place. Like that's dope to me because it's giving people access that they weren't once able to have. However, in the same light, we got to be careful because with that, we also are getting fed people that are not in our best interest, that are still in the corporate interest, and they are telling us things and influencing us to do things, and we're thinking, oh, this is one, quote unquote, one little guy talking to another little guy about something, and it's like, no, this little guy's getting a bunch of money poured into his pocket to tell you what the corporate entities want you to listen to. So I think, as in all things in life, there's a balance, and I think in all things, it's about how you use it. All of this technology is literally, the definition is just a tool that makes work easier. Everything. So whether it be a washing machine, whether it be a camera or AI, all of these things are just tools. Now, how you choose to use it, how you choose to interact with it, that is where the polarity comes in. So I think we just got to be careful of how we're doing it, and still having people like you that are using the platforms and the technologies for good and not evil. And we can still continue on the mission that we're on and not allow it to affect us but so much, because at the end of the day, people's the industry all day, every day. So if you stay close and stay connected to the people and keep the people's best interest in mind, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel the same way about how using AI and other tools should be thought of. You shouldn't use it to replace skills you don't have.
Yeah,
You should use it to kind of enhance the skills that you do have, or try to use it to learn a new skill. You shouldn't make it the end all be all. Take put like for Chat GPT. You put a prompt in and it spits something out. The better the prompt, the better the output. But at the same time, it still won't be perfect because it's not you. You
absolutely.
know. It's not you. It should always align with your brand, with your values, you know. And so if it doesn't, then you need to correct the course before you ever let any other eyes see it. Because otherwise, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, 100%. 100.
Yep. Well, Jarrell, I appreciate you for joining the show, man. It's definitely been great having you. You
Yeah,
know, I know your time's valuable, man. I'm gonna give it back to you, be with the fam on this, you know, great MLK Day. It's a cold one,
it's a
but
cool, cool for sure. Yeah,
yes.
but like
So you
I,
got any last words for me?
I appreciate you and all the things that you got going on, man. And just like I said, at the end of the day, you know, the production is great, but I just want to make sure that we understand that once again, it's the people. It's not what you do as a man, it's who you are as a man that should be most valued and most applauded and appreciated. So I just want to take the moment to say, bro, like keep being you, man. Keep being you. Keep giving to the world in the way that you can. Keep being a light for all the people that are watching, bro. Because it's definitely admirable and it's definitely necessary, bro.
I appreciate that, bro. I really do. And you know, definitely stay in touch because this, you know, I hope to make this a regular thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. We can get on here and chop it up about some crazy things. We don't got to talk about me for sure.
Well, I appreciate you, Jarrell. So
Yeah.
thanks again for joining the show. And everybody, thanks for watching. If you guys have any other questions, Jarrell, how can they reach you?
Oh man, so I'm actually in a quote unquote social media fast until the end of January, but after which go ahead shoot me up, hit me up on Instagram at Jarrell the Griot, Jarrell, my first name, THA, because I'm urban like that. Jarrell the Griot, GRIOT, all together one word, and from there you can see all of the things, my other Instagrams, my link tree with all my music, everything's there. Um, of course, follow me on Facebook, Jarrell. What is it, Jarrell Real Deal? All the things, man. So I'm around. I'm around. And if you want to hit me up directly, my boy know how to get in touch, so we can make whatever connection need to make. But yeah, man, keep in touch with me, and I'm definitely gonna keep in touch with you. And we gonna keep this thing moving, man. 2025 can be something spectacular. So we might have to swap, so you can tell your story on some of my space. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm totally down for that. You know, it's a conversation. You know, I don't mind sharing my journey at any point. You know, it's definitely been a wild ride, but my whole deal is each one reach one to teach one. I tell all my mentees that, and because I feel as though we all have a skill, we all have a purpose, and the best way to, you know, for us to grow is, you know, put ourselves out there and we grow together. You know, because I may not be as well as you are in the sound department, but I can definitely help anybody on the video department as far as storytelling and writing, and even some of the personal branding and marketing. You know, so we've all got vast skill sets, but I'm all about collaboration in order for us to all get to where we need to be together.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that, bro.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. Blessings and favor, brother.
I appreciate you, bro.